Hey everyone, how's it going today, and welcome back to another second stimulus check and second stimulus package unemployment benefits extension update. So in today's update, I really just want to answer a very common question. Now, I know I did mention this already in one of my last previous updates, but I know a lot of people were still having questions about it. So I kind of just wanted to, I guess, make just one solo video just dedicated to answering this, which is about whether or not you should reapply for the unemployment program, especially if you are someone that's still waiting or you currently have ran out of dates. I really kind of just want to maybe make one video to kind of dedicate specifically to answering that. I do also want to maybe briefly touch up on the unemployment situation. So we're just going to cover everything about whether or not you should reapply, when you should reapply, or what happens when you hit the 0 dates, or maybe also about what happens or what you should do if you have maybe already reapplied, or maybe you're just curious about what would happen if you were to reapply. I'll probably just try to cover everything in today's video. But before we begin, make sure you smash the like button because it always does help to support this channel. Consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification button for future updates on unemployment and stimulus checks. And also feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about really anything at all, and maybe about your state, and whether or not you've received unemployment, and maybe even your program. I did make a previous video, feel free to check it out. I think it's called 28 States Paid, although I'll probably make an even more updated version of that video talking about the specific payments, about when you should expect your specific payments. So definitely check that out if you guys are interested. And with that being said, let's get started. Now, to answer the question about the reapplying part, about whether or not you should reapply, the answer really is that it depends. But in most situations, especially if you are not sure, don't reapply. In most situations, you probably don't have to reapply. I'd say probably in over 80, 90 something percent of the situations. The best move right now is that if you really are still waiting for your unemployment, is to just continue waiting and to really just follow the news, and then maybe to follow along other people that are also in your state. That's also kind of why I kind of always have recommended people to kind of comment down your state and whether you've received your unemployment and also your unemployment program, because we did address that, is that the dates across different states can also actually vary, also because of the program. Some states are sending it traditional first, then they're doing PUA, then PEUC, so it really varies. Hence also why we kind of talked about in one of the previous videos about how you might find different articles where one says 28 states have been paid, another one says 38 states, and you might be confused about which one is it. And the answer is that it really just depends on how you define paid. If you want to count paid as everyone's been paid, or if you want to count paid as just only PUA has been paid, it just really depends. But in most situations, you don't have to reapply and you don't have to refile. The best move really is just to hang tight and really just wait for announcements and news that come specifically from your state, or to ask other friends or coworkers or people in YouTube or just general social media about whether or not they've received it, because as we've mentioned before is that the most authentic information we will always find is going to come from people that are living in a particular state, experiencing that something from firsthand, than any news article that we can possibly read online. Really, in terms of when you should reapply, the only time you should really reapply for unemployment is if they specifically tell you. That really would be the only case, is that if they physically contact you, and most likely is that if they did, it's probably because of a very particular circumstance or like reason. The most common reason, I believe, is probably because of something related to fraud. But even then, keep in mind is that they would have to specifically tell you, because I know that there's a lot of people that are being on some kind of fraud related case right now. The likelihood is that they're probably going to help you to try to adjust it eventually, automatically, eventually over time. It's really just, again, like if they specifically tell you, or if you have a particular circumstance, then you should probably look into reapplying. Now, in terms of what to do, say for example you've either already reapplied, or maybe you're just curious about what would happen if you did reapply, the likelihood is most of the time, if you did already reapply, probably actually what's going to happen is actually nothing. Most of the time, I think that the systems are generally a lot smart enough that they're able to kind of pick up on it. So if you were to try to reapply, they're probably just going to kind of correct it eventually later. However, the reason why people don't recommend you to reapply is because if you do reapply, there have been actual cases in the past that, or going on right now, where some people actually did reapply, and it might even actually flag the system. The real reason why is really because you're really only supposed to be allowed to have one claim open. And I think that this is even more true if you come from a state of some kind that's trying to kind of catch on to a lot of fraud cases right now. Probably the biggest one is California. I've heard of it apparently happened to some in Pennsylvania. I don't think it happened to anyone in New York, so thankfully I think almost everyone in New York should be safe, more or less. But really the reason why is because if you decide to open another claim, they might actually flag the system to kind of question why they have two claims open, especially if both claims are related to one person or one identity. They might flag the system to think maybe there was identity fraud or something that kind of happened. Again, most of the time it's probably not going to happen, but it has been something. I don't really have the exact percentage. If I did have to maybe guess, I'd say probably about 80% of the people I know have been pretty safe for the most part if they did try to reapply. However, there has been a percentage of people that actually did try to reapply when they should not have reapplied, and so because of that reason, now their account is kind of on like a freeze situation. So hence also why a lot of people recommend to really just hang tight if you haven't reapplied and just to hold still unless they specifically contact you and tell you otherwise to do so. Now, in terms of what's the best move to really do about it, the best move most of the time is that if your account currently is still active, but simply you just don't have any dates left, so say for example like your balance hits 0, the likelihood is that they're probably going to eventually regenerate. Hence also why everyone's really sharing information, because they really recommend to try to just keep track with the news and about what other people in your state's also going through. The likelihood is that they're just going to regenerate the dates, and then when they're ready, they're going to just reload it and then give you guys the extra weeks. So now your balance will hopefully go from 0 to 11, because that's the total maximum number of weeks. Now, if you do end up getting an error message of some kind or some kind of flag system, or let's say for example your account freezes, then the best move to probably have to go through to really troubleshoot it from there is that, and as much as I know people don't want to hear this, you're probably going to have to call. Because a lot of these like specific troubleshooting situations, especially even more true about the identity fraud situation, but say again, for example, like if they specifically have to like investigate your account, the likelihood is that you're probably going to have to call. They may actually end up, if you give them time, they may actually end up fixing it for you anyway, but the likelihood is that they're probably going to maybe need you to kind of verify information or to actually troubleshoot and correct it directly in your account. So you're probably going to have to call if that ends up happening. And I know it might be very, very difficult to try to reach them sometime, but that really has been kind of the best move for a lot of different people. I do know maybe one tip that some people have recommended, if you do want to go through with calling, is to try to call at different times of the day, because sometimes different unemployment offices, they change up how busy they are. So sometimes they might be more free like really early if you call, sometimes if you call much later, so like around the evening time. So it really varies. Sometimes even the day of the week. Sometimes they might be more free on Wednesday instead of Friday, or Tuesday instead of Monday. So it really varies. But I'd say the other tip is to maybe just call at very scattered times of day. You can also look into calling if you're just not sure and you just want to be sure. Let's say for example you're not, you just kind of want to have a little bit of confidence. You can look into that, especially if you have the free time anyway. But if your account is safe, it's active, it's just that you just don't have any dates and you're just waiting for more information to arrive, then the best move really is to really just try to wait it out and follow with other people. So hopefully this kind of answered the question about whether or not you should reapply, when you should reapply, or what to do if you already have reapplied, or what's likely going to happen if you already reapplied. Feel free to comment any questions, thoughts about really anything at all, maybe your state, whether you've received unemployment or stimulus, and also specifically the program, because keep in mind it does vary on the program. Remember to smash the like button if you hopefully found something insightful about that, and consider subscribing and hitting the bell notification button. And with that being said, I'll likely probably share more updates as they come on, especially as we get more details about both stimulus and unemployment, especially about the third stimulus, because keep in mind we're likely going to get more information about that, so definitely subscribe to that. So with that being said, thank you guys so much for watching. Stay safe, stay well, and hope to see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much again.